Okay, so we're live in 34, 35 seconds.
No, we're live, Abdul.
We're going to be live in a couple of seconds, 43 seconds, 44, 45. Oh, we're going to be live now. Are we live already, Kyle?
Yes, we're live.
Are we live?
Yes, we are. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Are we live?
Yeah, we're live. Yes, we're live. 30
Cool.
seconds.
Good evening. Oh, I didn't even know that. Well, that's what life is about, eh? Good evening, everybody. Hello, everybody. It's Abdul Sayed here. We live with you. Well, we were live before I thought we were live. So I was a little bit dead before I was live, but now we're live. So, okay. So we're here back with episode 2 of a motor talk with Witzenberg, or motor praatjies met Witzenberg. Episode 2, we had one last week. It was an awesome live stream session last week with some very, very special guests. Tonight we have a wonderful lineup of some really special guests. You guys must have seen some of the snippets, some of the videos floating around on social media. Well, we're going to have Patrick VERMAAK up. We're going to have Sean PRETORIUS. We're going to have NADIA SINGH, and we're going to have Sideways Saki, or Kaalvoet Ranger Saki van Zyl. So before I actually introduce them, I want to just tell you guys a little bit about our event coming up on the 31st of October at Killarney International Raceway. So we're going to live stream that event as well. So we'd love you guys to join us and to subscribe to our channels, our YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. Subscribe to our channels, get updates all the time. Come and meet and greet the people, get to know the racing drivers, get to know the guys, and just get to know more about motorsport. So, okay, let me just, we can actually get going now. I think our first guest, I'm going to introduce all the guests quickly, and then we can go and start and individually talk to them. So we're going to come up with Patrick VERMAAK. So Patrick VERMAAK is, he can tell you who he is, but I met him through Gymkhana. I lie. And I've known him for very many years from circuit racing, but we became very close once I decided to do the Gymkhana. So we have Patrick VERMAAK, and he is probably one of the oldest members of the Witzenberg Motor Club. He's been around. I mean, I asked him earlier on, Patrick, did you actually break a leg to get here tonight? Patrick, what was the answer to that?
Well, that was 100% on the dot. I literally broke a leg to get here tonight. But fortunately, it's a fabricated one, so it can be repaired. Won't need any hospitalization or anything of that to sort this one out.
Oh, my word. Okay, so Patrick, we're going to just call the other guests up as well so we all can have a nice chat. And then after Patrick, I'm sure Sean PRETORIUS is there somewhere, the Subaru man. Hi, Sean. Can you hear Sean?
No, there we go. You know the 2020 slogan, your mic is on mute.
As long as you're not on mute, it's okay.
No, it catches me every time, but how's it, guys? How you doing, Abdul? Patrick, nice to see you guys.
Nice to have you guys on the show. I know Patrick's a very busy man. You were a very busy man, but nice to have you guys here. And then we have NADIA SINGH.
Hey, guys.
Hello, Nadia. Thanks for being with us on the show. I know you're a busy lady as well.
Thanks, Abdul.
We're going to have a lekker chat. And then last but not least, my good friend Saki, Sideways Saki, Kaalvoet Ranger. Hoe gaan het met jou, Saki?
Ja, baie goed, dankie, daai kant.
Lekker, geen klagtes. I must tell you a story about Saki. The first time I met Saki was in Ceres. So he comes, the first time I joined the Gymkhana a couple of years ago, and he rocks up there with his car, the Corolla V8, at the back of his I don't know, VW Towers or something. And I checked the number plate, Wyn Train. And I'm checking to myself, okay, if this is the number plate of this Okie, I mean, I can just imagine how he's going to drive. And I won't tell you a word of a lie. That car, because of Wyn Train, that Corolla is always sideways. So, and it's probably because of the number plate of that Wyn Train.
It's got a lot to do with that, yeah.
Okay, guys, so let's get straight into it. This is episode 2 of Motor Talk with Witzenberg, and in Afrikaans, Motor Praatjies met Witzenberg. And we have really some good guests on track. You guys all know each other, kind of, somehow. And I just want to start off with Patrick. Patrick, tell me how this whole Gymkhana thing actually started? Couple of seconds, yeah.
It started with a bit of a personal disaster on my side. David Lowe and myself had an unfortunate accident in 1998 in Overberg, where we tried to move a 20-meter concrete dam. Unfortunately, the concrete won, and that's why there's a little bit less of me these days. But the long and the short of it is, during the recovery period, which took nearly a year, my wife got fed up with me at home being an irritation, and she said we must find something in motorsport to do so we can get out of the house and out of her hair. And a couple of my friends got together and we had a big chat about why there's always a fight when it comes to Gymkhana. What is the things that doesn't work in a Gymkhana? How can we fix that, and how can we present an event that will end up with a result that's got integrity and nobody moaning and fighting about it at the end of the day? And I was very fortunate at the time that Neville Gleeson and Andre Mitchell, Marius Bester, and all those guys were with me. We were colleagues at work, and they are the real computer geniuses of the time. So they're the Kyles of 30 years ago. And they sat around the table, got a few ideas on paper. You would have an absolute heart attack if you saw how the timer grew from a box full of wires to what it was recently. Andre Mitchell wrote us the program that gave us the good results. And we had Piet van der Walt amongst those as critics, always present with his stopwatch trying to challenge the timer until he got to a stage where he came up to us and said he's now satisfied this timer is everything he didn't want it to be, but it's accurate and it cannot be faulted. And that's how the integrity element of it was put in place. I got introduced to the manager of Club Mykonos in Langebaan, and went to see him and actually had a bit of a discussion with him, trying to convince him to allow us to have a Gymkhana in his parking area. And I could see the frown growing on his face until we went down to the parking area, and he actually asked us, where do we want to put the horses? And I said, well, these horses are under bonnet. These are not. This is not an equestrian sport. This is a car sport. And he couldn't understand that. But he said yes in any case. And in July 1999, we had the first event at the Club Mykonos, which was a single lane event. The objective at that stage was to have one event annually and catering for a maximum of 30 cars. And to our surprise, we ended up with 57 cars on the first event, ran super late, and it proved so popular that we immediately had to go to 2 events, and that eventually became 3 events, and eventually the series became an 8-event series annually. Thanks to the guys like Anton Slabbert, or the Slabbert brothers, IZAK van Zyl, Jan de Jong, I can mention many, and I would hate to leave somebody out of it. But this is a sport that is built by the people. It's not motorsport. I think the best way to put it, this is motorsport by the people for the people. It's the emphasis has never been on winning. The emphasis is on growing within yourself, make yourself a better driver. The benefits of it is that whatever you do at the Gymkhana, whatever mistake you make there, and believe me, there's nobody that can say they haven't made mistakes at Gymkhanas. You will make a mistake. You will feel embarrassed. You will have everybody give you a hard time about those mistakes for a very long time. The good thing about that is you will learn from them, and you will become a better driver on our roads. Guys like Sean, who enjoys fiddling on cars, and IZAK, who enjoys developing motor cars. This is an opportunity to show what they're capable of. And there's some awesome machines there. That car of Sean's is impressive in static form. It doesn't have to move to be impressive. Yet you can put a 1987 Corolla on the track, and you put somebody like Saki behind the wheel, and that becomes a spectacle of note. The bottom line is, like I said to Sean earlier, we've never developed the sport to be there for the guy with the deepest pocket or the fanciest motor car. At the end of the day, I'd love to see more people like Nadia present, who comes there and enjoys herself, brings a very special motorcar to the occasion. But at the end of the day, I do believe, Nadia, that you also feel that you're growing every time you compete in one of these events. It's so important to get the ladies involved, and I think that's a nice element about Gymkhanas. You can get the entire family involved. In Saki's case, his wife raced, he raced. I'm pretty sure there's a young man growing up to be following in Dad's footsteps soon. And well, he can't have grey hair, but he's going to have no hair by the time that happens.
Okay, Patrick. So, I met you. I mean, you can actually talk for about 5 hours on Gymkhana, if not more, 5 days probably. I wish that people knew you the way I know you, because we've sat on many times and we've chatted. Well, you've chatted to me so long, and it's unbelievable your knowledge and your wisdom regarding Gymkhanas. So I'm going to move on to the next. We come back to you, Patrick. But thank you for all the insight. Patrick, we better say hi to about a gazillion people. Anton Vandenberg said hi to you. Nadia Leon said hi to you. And we have Robin Wakeford. Hy sê dit was altyd die lekkerste naweek tyd verdryf. Mis dit. I don't know who it is, but it sounds like he was at Mykonos.
Robert was a regular with a Corolla similar to what Saki had or has, but the more standard version of it.
Oh, okay. Okay, Saki Leon sê, Saki, jy moet 'n bietjie smile chom. Smile vir hom asseblief. Hy's nogal vol nonsens, die Leon. Okay, so let's get on to Nadia. Jy mang moet 'n bietjie seer.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nadia, I met you about two years ago. I don't know how I met you. It was through Gymkhana.
Yeah.
And you were kind of the first. No, you were not. You were the second Subaru, because Marco was the first Subaru. So tell us a little bit about yourself, just very shortly about yourself, how you got into this. Or not Gymkhana, but you used to do some illegal street racing, I don't know where, in Johannesburg.
Thanks for keeping my street cred up there, Abdul. So, well, before I say anything, let me say hello to Leon and hello to Sadika and everybody else that's tuned in. So, Abdul, 2 years ago, probably 2.5 years ago, you called me to say, we're organizing Gymkhana. I know you're here from Johannesburg. Get the Subaru guys to come join. So I think that was when we first started chatting. But I think my love for motorsport in general actually began after I bought my first Subaru. And exactly what Patrick said, it was more so the family and everybody that was involved in the Subaru Club and in the motorsport fraternity that actually kind of pushed me on and encouraged me. I mean, my first event ever, I'll never forget. I'm not sure if they've tuned in, but it was guys that went to a skid pan and we all drove out in convoy. There were about 40 or 50 of us. And I was like, what is this? It's just this large thing and there's water and there's cars. What do I do? And the guys actually tricked me. They said to me, you need to go in through that area so that you can get your car away from the skid pan. And before I knew it, I'm there and the guy's like, are you ready to go? And there's no turning back. So I've been fortunate in the sense that I have a love for the cars and everybody around me has basically pushed me and motivated me to get more involved in it.
Okay, Nadia, so we're going to get back to you later on about your car. But Atira Furfree says, hi, Patrick, and hi, Saki. You guys better say hi to her very quickly because she's another cookie there.
Hi, Tera. Thanks for joining.
Nice to see all the names come popping up on screen.
Good. Sean, I'm going to go to you.
Yes, sir.
How did I actually meet you, Sean? I can't even remember this.
You know what? It was around the Witzenberg AGM, in fact, and I don't actually remember where we met, but you said you're trying to get the more motivation or more sort of things going on the Gymkhana front. Do I want to come and have a listen? Because you knew that I'd been involved in the Subaru Club in Johannesburg. So I popped in and there was a lot of talk about how to get things going. And before we knew it, you kind of had the series going and we were driving and it's grown from there.
Okay, so I'm going to come back to your call a little bit later on as well. But you also do, I think you did Super Drift, am I correct, or something like that?
So a little bit of background. I joined the Subaru Owners Club in Joburg, which was an amazing club and ran very well from 1999, actually. So the same year that Patrick started Gymkhana. Very active club, and similar to Nadia, I ended up joining the crowd because you if you bought a Subaru, you didn't have a choice in Joburg. They were just everywhere. The club. So I started doing some track days and things with them in 2008-9. But up there, it was mostly at the time things like hill climbs, track days, skid pan, as Nadia mentioned, but not a hell of a lot of very technical Gymkhana. Anton, who you said hello to earlier, has had quite a successful series running up there. But him and I have got some cheerful banter because I always said his events were like running tight circles in a shoebox. They were always too tight for us. So I've always had a laugh about that with him. But anyway, so most of the events up there were slightly bigger scale. We even used the go-kart track at Swartkops, which is also a different drive. But coming down here, sadly, there's not a hell of a lot of events available, and I was looking to drive. And the streetcar track day at Killarney is great, but it's only so much. Then this opportunity came up where we were able to drive, and it was an event more familiar in the sense that you could use a normal car. You didn't have to worry about massive damages. You could compete, as Patrick said, in any car you liked. It was about the driver's skill, and it gave us an opportunity to get together once every so often, have a proper drive, enjoy your car to the full, and do so in a safe and comfortable environment. So that's kind of where the bug bit, and this has been the second year of a very successful Gymkhana series. Obviously, COVID threw a spanner in the works this year, but it's been very successful and extremely well received by most people that drive in it.
Okay, so Patrick, you better say hi to Dewald. He says, hi, Patrick. Are you married to his sister?
He's married to my wife. So he's married to my wife's brother.
Okay, start over again, Patrick, because he says he's your swar. So I'm just not a bit confused on how it works out here.
He's a bit heavy, that's why.
Well, okay.
He gained a few pounds.
Sean, you better remember that little chirp coming from Anton Vandenberg. Skilled drivers can do a 360. Keep it in thought.
Absolutely, but do they have to be in a double garage, or can they be on a little bit of a bigger space, please?
Okay, Saki, you don't need any introduction, because let me tell you guys a little story. Ashfaq, how are you, man? Thanks for joining us. But Saki, coming back to you, my first Gymkhana was in Sierras. So you were there with the Corolla. That time it wasn't a twin turbo, it was a normal V8 Corolla, and I was really impressed with this car. But anyhow, so I come from a circuit racing background, and so when you go to race at Killarney or any circuit, you have your full armor, helmet, underwear, Nomex underwear, your full your 3-layer suit, your boots, fireproof, everything. So I rock up at the Gymkhana, and I see Saki's driving cowfoot and a shorts and a short sleeve sweater. And I'm thinking to myself, is this guy serious? With a V8 Corolla, I must say there was a roll cage in the car. It was good. And I'm thinking to myself, I've never met Saki before, and this oak is driving cowfoot. So tell us a little bit about, you are impressive on the track with that V8, even with the 86. Tell us a little bit about how you got into Gymkhanas, and how did it start for you?
It started a while back when I came back from the States. I think it was probably 2005, 2006. I started with Piet van der Walt and the GTI Club Challenges. And they used to run here by the big Pick and Pay in the parking lots. And from there I moved, I think I'm Anton van Bosch and Patrick, I met them there. And then Anton just told me, I'll never forget it. He said, this is nothing, you must come to Mykonos. Mykonos is a place to be. And so eventually I got the car going and we went to Mykonos, and since then it's just been something I never could let go of. The bug bit, and it never let go.
So where did you learn to drive like that? I mean, you're never in a straight line. You're always sideways. I mean, were you born like that, or how did that work?
You'll have to ask my mom that. But,
I mean,
the-
you know, just tell me a little. Yeah, tell me more about that.
Yeah, look, I've started with always I can't say it too loud. Some of the customer cars those that did allow me to do it. Obviously, playing a bit. And since the young age, we've been on the farm and playing around with the cars. A friend of mine also helped us or helped with the catching on nonsense side. We used to do some with NADIA, not the Cape Town thing, some street racing back in the day. But then, yeah, the sideways thing kind of caught up that time already, and I started doing the gymkhanas. Some of the people also asked me, is your golf rear-wheel drive? It's just the way I like to set up the cars. Leon, for example, he doesn't like it that way, but I like it a bit looser. It helps for the corners and that, but doesn't help in the straight lines again. And then I switched over to I've always wanted a rear-wheel drive car. I had the SX, and but that car was just too neat for me to strip and make a race car. So I got the Corolla from Anton de Vries in Uppington, or through him actually. Got it from Toar, and started building that. And I always said I wanted to do a V8 kind of thing, but in the small car. Yeah, and then at the gymkhanas, I always just started to teach myself, or not teach myself, but to do the whole track sideways. Try and link the corners. Start off straight and end off, keep the car sideways all the way.
Amazing. So you guys going to come and see Saki on the 31st of October. Well, Saki, Nadia, and Sean is going to be there. Very different types of driving styles, very different cars, but there for everybody. So, Patrick, what happened to Patrick? Is he gone to fetch his leg? Wait, Carl, what happened to Patrick? Hello, Duan. Saki, say hello. Saki, say hello to Duan, alsjeblieft.
Ik weet hem te reply nie.
Nee, say hello.
How's it doing?
Okay, so I'm going to skip Patrick for now. So Nadia, coming back to you. When I met you the first time, I believe that your Subaru is one of 350 in the world, the only one of its kind in South Africa. Have I got my facts right here?
You got your facts right.
Okay, tell me a little bit about this special car.
Okay, so hey, my navigators just come on. Hi, Faye. Hi, Dave. So we've got some non-motorsport people that have joined. Thanks for joining, Dave. So Abdul, yes, my car is a special car. He, not she, he is very special to me. One of 350 ever made to attack the Nürburgring. So you'll see the sticker on the side of my car that's got the Nürburgring design on it, or track on it. They produced 350 of these cars. It's completely track ready, literally to set the record at the Nürburgring at the time. So only one made its way to South Africa. Very thankful for that. And I had my eye on it for the longest time. So in 2004, when I first joined the Subaru family and got involved, I drove a WRX, and I had that car as my daily for 9 years. I sold it on 200,000 Ks. The most amazing car, but the goal was always to have an STI. And then I sourced an STI from Cape Town. I was so excited. I had the car for a year. And when I heard the Spec C was up for sale, so that's the name of my car, sir. So it's a mouthful. It's a Subaru Impreza WRX STI Spec C Type RA. So,
It sounds like a tongue twister.
So when I heard the car was up for grabs, shame. I got rid of my first black STI so quickly just so that I could get my hands on the special car.
Oh my word. If I had a special car like that, I wouldn't even drive that thing. I'll just park it off and drive my Toyota. Anyhow.
I mean, your Toyota is special.
Well, Toyotas are special, yeah. Sean, your car is also very impressive. I need tell us more about this car. I mean, I always see power brake on your car. Am I correct?
Yeah. I started using power brake. Product a few years ago, and when I moved down to the Cape, couldn't get it here. So chatted to Clive and the boys, and I started to do just just some marketing, and lo and behold, I ended up becoming an informal distributor for them anyway. But I believe in their product. But never mind, it's not about Power Brake, although the stuff's good. The car of mine started out as a standard 2010 STI hatchback, and the hatchback in the Subarus was a lot of controversy. Some people love them, some people hate them. Now a lot of people like them because they're becoming quite scarce. I think about 50 made their way into South Africa, so not quite as rare as a Spec C, but nevertheless. I bought the car 5 years ago from a friend of mine, and believe it or not, in 2015, the car had 17,000 Ks on it. He'd barely driven it over 5 years. The car was immaculate. Bought it from a good mate of mine, Lenny, and that's when I started to start playing with the car and doing some upgrades. So, right now it's got every suspension upgrade available from Whiteline. I always like to say that Lenny, who had the car, threw the Whiteline catalog at the car. And then I started to mess around with the motor and turbo changes and all of those things. Subarus are known for their reliability. Bullshit. Sorry, I meant no. Sorry, did I say that out loud?
No, we didn't hear that.
Okay, good.
I was on mute. I was on mute.
Good. So the what was it? It was the 2007 World Engine of the Year, coughed up its ringlands as they do. And that just gave me an excuse to start modifying the car, and it got full builds and forged internals and turbos and intercoolers and different headers and all sumps and all sorts of things. So went a bit overboard, and safe to say, to be honest with you, the car probably has a little bit too much power for the types of Gymkhana events we do, but it's a handful, but it's a hell of a lot of fun to drive.
Okay, so who's Henry or Henry? Anybody know him? Nadia, must be you, Nadia. Yes, you know a lot of people.
Henri, hi, Henri. Him and his family are watching from the US, and I bought my first Subaru from him.
Oh my word! Oh my word!
Thanks for joining.
Sean, that car of yours. I mean, it sounds like, I don't know. I can't even explain. It just excites me when you stand on that line. You're revving that car, and the limiter comes in, and you haven't pulled away yet, and I'm excited. I mean, and then the latest upgrade was a handbrake, hydraulic handbrake, I believe.
Yeah, so two latest upgrades was a Cusco plated diff at the back and a hydraulic handbrake. And when you combine those two, the car rotates like it's supposed to. So yeah, having a lot of fun, man.
I'm glad you're having a lot of fun. Saki, so we know about this V8 Corolla, which I love because I'm a Toyota fanatic. V8 Lexus motor, 1UZ, 2UZ?
It's a 1UZ, the 4 liter,
1UZ.
non-VVT.
Okay, 4 liter non-VVT. You,
Yes.
in your right mind, I don't know who does this except Saki, sticks twin turbos on this thing. Tell us about this special car, please. This is unbelievable.
I started doing the Super Drift events back in the day. We had a Western Cape series going, and in the fourth gear, you need a bit of power to still be wheel spinning, and it just makes it a lot easier if you've got a lot more power. So I decided on going the twin turbo route. It was the idea right from the start. So I built the car proper from the start with the right diff and gearbox and clutches and everything. Even though I was just running the normal 4 liter V8. So yeah, that's why I did it. And it just makes it a whole lot easier.
So, I remember at the last, it was about a couple of months ago, before COVID, obviously. My brother, who was one of the officials at one of the Gymkhanas, I stuck him in your car, Saki. And
I remember. I think he's still smiling.
Yeah, actually, I think believe me, he got out of the car. He was, in Afrikaans, he was in a poop storm. Hij is nog altijd in een poepstorm. He still talks about that today, the incredible car that your car and the drive and the smoke and everything. So it must be one awesome experience. And we got Patrick back here. Patrick, where were you?
I've had my quick nap. At my age, you need to rest every now and again.
Jy's a young man, man.
Computer packed up. I don't know. I'm not clever enough to tell you what that was, but it seems to be working again.
Okay, so just here's a comment. Well, Shamim Blomaki said hi. He got onto this by chance, but he definitely will be back in. So somebody has really impressed that gentleman. And there's a message from Ra'id Sayed. He says, Sean's car sounds awesome, but he's the start-finish marshal. And he says he needs earplugs when that car pulls away. So, Patrick, this is Sadiqa Singh. Is that your sister, Nadia?
Sorry, just repeat.
That's my cousin.
Your cousin. Okay, we're just checking. Your whole family's on you, Nadia. They must tell them to say hello. Patrick, coming back to you quickly.
Absolutely.
So, everybody's talking about Mykonos. I know if I remember correctly, I wasn't on the scene then. I was still messing around with circuit cars. It was the 100th event, if I'm not mistaken, at Mykonos. Why was Mykonos so special?
I think there's many a good reason for Mykonos being a success. First of all, it was, I suppose, a nice holiday opportunity. It became a weekend for everybody. The second thing that was very, very good about Mykonos is the two identical routes. It's not a mirror image. It's two identical routes next to each other. You can ask Saki, the pavements there are pretty intimidating. They don't move. They don't care if you're driving a truck or a Subaru or whatever. They simply do not move. And it just created a fantastic atmosphere there. Mykonos became, I'll risk saying, the iconic event of Gymkhanas. And it's such a pity that development has sort of seen that go to waste, in the sense that noise and the activities of the day now become a burden for the people living close by to Mykonos. We need another venue of a similar nature, and it's not. Yeah, I suppose Mykonos will always be the event, but there's no reason why another event similar to Mykonos cannot be developed at another venue and create the same atmosphere, become as successful as Mykonos. There's a bit of a scare factor involved at Mykonos, in the sense that, first of all, those pavements. Secondly, it's a pretty fast event for a Gymkhana. And when you get on to pace at Mykonos, it takes intense concentration. Ask Saki. It can become, he always looks like he's on holiday and just driving through to the cafe or something.
But,
if you get serious about those first couple of times, you can see the effect it has on people. If you speak to a veteran champion there like Mike Nathan, he will tell you that Mykonos is actually more of a nerve-wracking experience than it is to do a national rally. And the simple reason is you've got a 2-minute slot. And a single mistake can drop you from 1st to 10th. The results at Mykonos, you can normally find after your times have been combined at the end of the day, that you'd have 5 or 6 guys on the same second. And you can't get it much tighter than that. It's actually incredible to see some of the results we've had, exact same times by people in different class motor cars. So it's difficult to fathom quite why the Subarus have never been quite successful at Mykonos. Only Peter Peterson that ever won an event in a Subaru, which I find rather strange, because I believe those cars are capable of doing that on a more regular basis. So Sean, no pressure, but you're going to have to pull finger for the mark there.
We still need to get the venue back first.
Patrick, we're trying.
Yeah, so we have some brilliant comments there from Werner Kukemoer. I remember he was always silent. I think he drove a BMW, if I'm not mistaken. And there was Rishay Moodley, hi guys. And there was a couple of other guys. I missed Atira Store, said hi to us. Hi to everybody. If I missed anybody, well, I'm really sorry, but hi. But you guys kind of know, yeah.
Somebody that has to be mentioned at Mykonos is Werner Kukemoer. He became known as the mayor of Mykonos.
Okay.
And
why?
The reason for that is like Saki, Werner never looks like he's under pressure for anything. But when he gets behind the wheel of that BMW, he becomes something else. And the manner in which he could flick that BMW through the narrowest of spaces, if it wasn't wide enough for the BM to go through, he'd simply put his foot down and lift the wheel across the pavement and put it down on the other side. And if you think I'm joking, ask anybody who's seen it, and they will confirm that he was capable of doing that. When he ran out of space, he would simply lift the wheel, put it across the pavement, and believe me, if he hit the pavement, that's the end of it. The car wouldn't move from there. So we've had some amazing performances there. The pensioner that's just come on the screen now, he's threatening to come back forever, but I think his nerves have let him down. He's seen Saki, what Saki is capable of these days, and Fani, the Toy Vinnige Fani is another one that needs to be mentioned. He built his bakkie based on the successes that Mike had with his. And what an unlikely vehicle to be a motorsport success. A Ford Bantam bakkie that is used for as a delivery runaround became one of the most formidable weapons in Gymkhanas. And then when Fani came around, the same happened with his Raster.
Okay, so Patrick, there's like a whole history of events, and Mykonos stands out for this. I mean, Saki, Patrick stands out for everybody. So it's quite interesting. But it's, you guys know, in today's, Leon Engelbrecht says it was his first Gymkhana in 2004. I can't believe that, because he's only 22 now. He was just about born in 2004, Leon. So I'm not too sure about that. But coming back to Sean. No, Nadia. Sorry,
Yes,
Nadia. How have you found the Gymkhanas thus far? Give me some idea of the routes. Well, you can't say anything bad. I do the routes, right? So please just be careful what you say here. But are the routes okay for you? Are you enjoying it? You brought a couple of people in with you. What do you think we can do to get the sport to more people?
So Abdul, when you first asked me this question, we joked when I said to you that the route, when you sent me the route, it looked like a giant bowl of spaghetti. I was like, where do I go? What do I do? And then I got lost getting to the Gymkhana, and I thought, that's it. I mean, there's just no hope for me. But it's just when you get there, okay, you're obviously nervous about the route. If you've got a good navigator, somebody, and I've been fortunate to have that in most of the ones that I've participated in, you kind of, you study the route with them, and when you walk the route, it helps hugely. I mean, Anton Vandenberg, who was on here, swears by that. You walk the route, you feel a little bit easier. And after you do that first run, so my first run is always my slowest, it's like my sighting run. And then you just start gaining momentum and gaining confidence. And your Navi helps you through that, because it's just how you communicate. But you can't always you can't solely rely on the Navi. You also, you're behind the wheels, so you need to know what you're doing. And I think that's what I've been trying to put forward to most of the ladies and gents that I've been speaking to. You just don't try it once. It looks daunting on paper. I mean, the video clip that I sent you, you just hear laughing in the car. We have so much fun. And everybody out there needs to try it just once to know exactly what we're talking about and why we're so hooked on it. So I love it, Abdul. I love it.
Okay. Sean, you also kind of new to Cape Town, or new to Gymkhanas in Cape Town. What is your impression of it? How do we take the sport forward? What do you think? Give me your ideas. Tell me, you enjoying it, I assume.
No, very much so. I've been doing this now, for about 2 years with you guys, and I really enjoy it. I like the routes. They are technical enough to be challenging, but they flow well enough for it not to be stop-start, if that makes sense. So the routes do flow. They're not highly technical with 3 360s in a row or something silly like that. So they flow well. The thing I like about them is if you are wanting to be competitive, you can push and you can drive and you can push the limits. Or if you arrive and you just want to be there for fun, you can go have a relaxed drive, and you don't have to be worried about damaging your car or something like that. So I like the routes. I like the venue that we use. I do think that in future, as a suggestion, it would be great to have more venues. Something like maybe Mykonos. I never attended them, but you guys speak about them very much. But maybe something along those lines. If we could get more venues, perhaps at, I don't know, Grand West Casino or wherever we could, it would be great to get a couple more venues and a couple more ideas so that you're not limited just by one venue. And then the next thing I would say is we need to just get the word out that really anybody can do this. You can bring your daily driver and come and have a drive, or you can bring your race car and come and have a drive. The reality is you don't have to bring a full-blown Gymkhana race car just to have an absolute lot of fun. I see Anton Wannenberg's talking about the 360s at Gymkhana Grid. There were about 14 South African drivers that went in the all-wheel drive class, and it was pretty impressive to see how the cars stacked up against. We're arriving there with 100, 200, 300, 400,000 rand cars, and they're arriving with 850,000 euro cars. Full race team, new tires each lap. So I suppose those professional drivers know how to do a 360. So back to what I was saying, it's very cool that the routes are not so technical that you need a PhD to do them, and not so easy that they're boring. So it's challenging enough to be amazing, but easy enough to actually drive and enjoy yourself.
Okay, so Saki, I've got a treat for you for the next event. So the next event's on the 31st of October at Killarney. We're going to start quite early in the morning, probably around about 8:30, 9 o'clock. I'll give you guys the exact time. We're going to live stream. And it's on turn 5. Part of the route is on turn 5 at Killarney. So Saki, all I'm telling you is you are going to be able to go sideways from the one side of turn 5 to the other side of turn 5, my friend. Because that was kind of a request by some people. So tell us about your Gymkhana. You've been in Gymkhanas for longer than what I am actually been in Gymkhanas. You've been there for a long time. How has it progressed from old to new? Do you see anything positive coming out of this?
Yeah, there's a lot of new drivers coming into the sport now. I think what we're doing at Killarney is it's not expensive, and with the practice runs, the guys can come and see if they like it or not. They don't have to join the club or join anything for a whole year or something. They can come once or twice, see if they like it or not. And that's not going to cost them an arm and a leg. No pun intended on Patrick. So yeah, I've seen now with 86s, you can use a standard road car and come play with it, and you can still be competitive with it, depending on what you decide to do. Either if you want to play with it or run for time. I see the times wasn't too bad, even with me playing with it, but it just needs a little bit more power for the longer turns than that. Yeah.
Okay, Patrick. Like I said, you're like a encyclopedia of you Google. You are actually Patrick Gymkhana Google, because you have so much information. I don't know where you store it. Maybe in that Lego of yours. I don't know, but tell us. I don't even know where to start with you, Patrick. I must be honest. I kind of fell into the position because you got ill. So just take us through this whole quickly, like in a couple of 2 or 3 minutes. This journey from where it was to where it is. Do you like what you see? Don't you like what you see? Tell us your thoughts. Share some that groot kop van jou. Jy het baie goed is in hy kop. Praat met ons.
If I have to go back to the very beginning, it was, as I said, we started off wanting an event of 30 cars once annually. And we started off with 57. The good things about those days were that you had a 5 rand indemnity for the driver and the navigator. I think it was something like a 20 rand entry fee. And you could drive with whatever you brought to the venue, basic safety check, brakes, leaks, that type of thing, everything, safety belts and that type of thing in working order, and you could compete with your car. It became a little bit more competitive. Grant van Eck arrived on the scene with the GTI club and the challenge guys. And they got involved, and we started supporting each other's events in a sense that the GTI club would come and do all the Witzenberg Gymkhanas, and we will assist the GTI club by doing the timing and everything on their events at Kalani. It was a very nice relationship. It built up to in numbers on both sides. The competitive edge, I think, is very good to have that. It's also important not to lose sight of the newcomer. And that's where I see the biggest problem in the modern era. Because of the cost factor always escalating, cost plays a role with the guy using his daily car for motorsport events. He wants to come in as cheap as possible. He doesn't want to spend big bucks on his car, but he still wants to be able to enjoy the atmosphere. And the Gymkhana event as such is a basic rally concept. In other words, as a driver and a navigator, developing the skills of being able to communicate with each other. I always say that the navigator must be able to say as little as possible, but give as much possible information at the same time. You want that guy to only speak when necessary. You'll find that the navigator or the driver's foot is attached to the navigator's mouth. The moment he says, the driver lifts or something. And that communication skill is very important in a motor car. From that, they can develop into different categories of the sport. People have gone on to become clubmen's champions. They've gone on to become oval track champions. They've gone into various categories of the sport, which is fantastic to see, which is exactly what we want to see with Gymkhanas. You want the guy that just wants to have a bit of fun on the weekend to keep doing that for the rest of his life and bring his whole family to do that. But the guy that wants to get serious in the sport, he can grow in this. He can grow from a 1300 to eventually to a car of Saki's nature or Sean's type of car, and then take it more serious into other categories of the sport. But cost must be controlled somehow, must be curbed somehow. And in that sense, I still believe we need to sit around the table with the governing body of motorsport in South Africa, come to some sort of an agreement as far as licensing and all that type of stuff is concerned. It's nice having other venues, but Sean, as you might be aware, the restrictions they place on those venues are becoming a full-time occupation to try and maintain.
Yeah, very expensive too.
Because most of your organizers in the sport are volunteers, people who do it for the love of the sport. They don't get paid. They sit in the sun all day for your benefit to play. And there's no ways we can really cover or justify keeping people doing more and more, and there's no return on it for them. So either the sport must turn into a professional thing with a major sponsorship, or somehow we must curb those costs to keep the volunteers going. My personal point of view is I believe the volunteers are the most critical element of it. If you have the little guy happy, the bigger guys will always be happy. But if it's just the bigger guy smiling, you're going to lose the little guys. You're going to lose the new blood. And that's exactly what I think is wrong with most forms of motorsport today, is there's no gateway for newcomers to get involved. You want the ladies involved. Ladies tend to think, oh, they can't do this because they're going to be embarrassed by the men. Wrong. Please come, show us what you're capable of. Nobody's going to laugh at you. The guy laughing at you has never tried the sport before, because believe me, what you see from the other side of the fence is not what you experience on this side of the fence. I think Nadia will agree. When you look at the route schedule, it looks pretty straightforward and simple. The moment you're on that grid and those lights go out, left and right doesn't make sense anymore. Everything's exactly the same. And when you turn around, what is left and right now? It's little things, but it creates chaos in the motor car the first couple of times. And it's important. Yes, you're going to laugh about it. Yes, you're going to feel embarrassed about it. But face it and learn from it. And at the end of the day, when you grow into the sport, you can really enjoy this. And it's so important to see that, because we had so many husband and wife combinations. Danae Lowe, for example, him and Marcel, they are two of the stars of the sport. Jan de Jong, I can mention so many names. And at the end of the day, as I said, this sport is about the people, not about the results. I don't remember the results. I remember the people. People make it.
Absolutely.
And it's so important to keep those people involved. Saki, I thought we lost him when he started doing full-time drifting and everything. I'm going to stick my neck out and say it, but I think he took something to drifting, not drifting to him, in the sense that his ability to place a car goes unchallenged in the Western Cape, at least, and maybe in South Africa, because he learned in a gymkhana that you have to be. There's no second guessing something. You're perfectly in position, or you're going to lose time. That 1 minute and 10 seconds, you breathe at the wrong time, you lost the event. And he's got that ability to be so consistent. Another person that I can add to that, Andre Dreyer, and I'm hoping that Andre will be returning to the sport soon. Sean, you've got a problem coming with that man and his black golf. He's got the ability to really be painfully perfect. And that is, there's so many different characters in the sport. You need all of them. You need the top 10 chasing each other for milliseconds. You need the ladies to do their own thing and grow it for females. I love seeing the two of you as females in a motor car. That's why we never put a restriction on what the females use, as long as it's two females in the car. So you've actually got an added benefit, which Nasreen made good use of, because she would enter in the all-ladies class and she would enter in the capacity class as well. So by a little bit of a loophole in the rules, she was able to do two entries on a day with the same car, where nobody else could do that, especially the men. But to this day, she's the only one to have won an event overall, and hats off to her. She didn't get it for free. Guys like Saki and them made her work for it. And that's the challenge in it. If you get it for free, there's nothing to feel proud about. She was always welcomed in the sport, but none of the men gave her anything for free. She had to earn her position and her status in the sport.
Absolutely.
And today, she's one of the most respected lady drivers in the sport.
So, Patrick,
the same.
So, sorry to interrupt you there, but Nadia, coming back to the ladies and the sport, talk to the ladies out there.
So I'm glad you're asking, and I think what Patrick has said is very, very correct. And if I could leave the ladies with anything, I'm going to leave them with the advice, or what I say to myself. Being a lady, I don't believe there should be a ladies' class. That's my personal opinion. I feel like when I enter Gymkhana, I'm competing against myself. I look at my times, and that's what you need to do. You're going there to learn about your capabilities, and you're going to surprise yourself. You're going to have pleasant surprises every time you get out there. You're going there to learn more about your car. You're going there to gain your confidence. If anything, ladies, it's actually easier to be a lady because there's no pressure. The guys are competing with each other, and the ladies go out there and we do our thing, and they're incredibly supportive. That's what I love about Witzenberg. It truly is a family. We're all embraced and everyone's supporting each other. So I think there are ladies that probably feel a little bit overwhelmed, and they feel like Patrick said, we don't want to go there and we make fools of ourselves, or we wrong route, or we don't stop in time or whatever. Go there, you race at your own pace, you do what feels comfortable for yourself, and you're only racing against yourself. And every time you look at the times, in your mind you go, I want to do better for myself. And as you grow more confident, then you can start thinking of taking on the guys like Leon and Saki and the rest of them. So that's my advice to the ladies, but you've got to try it at least once. You've got to try it. It's probably not for everybody, but you've just got to give it a bash. And when I'm at the events, ladies are welcome to join me, navigate for the first time so that you're in the car and you see what's happening, and then take it from there. And I'm always ready to help. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, I'm going to come to you now, Sean, but that's interesting because Patrick mentioned earlier on, racing has become very expensive, and that's the bottom line. So if you add all the costs up, at the end of the day, it just becomes too much money. So the idea with Gymkhana is to keep it as low cost as possible and as much fun as possible. So Sean, what do you foresee for Gymkhana in the future? Where do you think? Yes, definitely we need venues. We need another venue where we can have a big tarmac and put an identical course, 2 courses next to each other.
Sure.
What do you say about that? Tell me your thoughts.
I think it's a great idea, to be honest with you. But you know, Abdul, one of the things that attracts me to the Gymkhana and the Witzenberg Gymkhana series in particular is it's pretty low cost, which is great. But more importantly for me, it's pretty simple in the sense that it's not, 200 different rules that you have to abide by. You bring what you got and you race what you got. And the other thing is, motorsport in South Africa is so full of politics that it's actually nauseating. With this, it is a bunch of mates getting together, having a good race, pushing it all out, and at the end of the day, we laugh at who failed and we joke with who won and we celebrate together. And that, for me, is probably the single best part about this. It doesn't have the politics that so many other racing series and racing events and things have in our country. So you ask, where do I see it going? I think it will. I think if we can just promote it a little bit more, and things like this live stream podcast, whatever you call it, is a very good thing. We must keep the legacy and keep the knowledge alive that people like Patrick and Saki and the guys have. We must keep that experience in the club to keep it available. We must absolutely have an opportunity for junior, novice, new drivers to come and drive. What Nadia said is great. Come and watch, and most of us will be glad to let you jump in a passenger seat and experience a lap. You might think twice about jumping in with Saki or Leon. Bring your bath bag with you, but the rest of us.
It's not be that bad, man.
Yes, Saki, I don't know. The reason you race without shoes is so when your passenger loses his lunch, you don't have to wash your shoes.
Maybe you must come drive with me next time.
Yeah, I think so. But, so where do I see it going? I think if you can stick to a formula, keep it consistent, keep it simple. I'm not saying keep the route simple. I'm saying keep the formula simple. Keep the classes to a minimum. Keep the racing to a maximum. Leave the politics out of it, and keep the fun happening. This is what's going to happen. To be honest with you, I've enjoyed the post-COVID practices immensely because it's no classes. You're racing against yourself. You're racing against your mates. You're having a great joy. Yes, of course, we want classes. We want to make it competitive. But try and keep the sense that it's more for the fun and the experience and the enjoyment, and less about who spent the most on their car to win by a quarter of a second at the end of the time, and then having all sorts of guys putting in complaints and all that nonsense. Keep that nonsense out of it. Keep it simple and keep it open to many people. That's what I would like to see happen.
Okay, Saki, I'm going to come to you now. So you know what? That's very important, Sean, because I remember my first Gymkhana was in Ceres, and I come from a circuit racing background, and I bought a car to go and drive circuit racing, and I changed my mind at the last second to go and drive Gymkhana. And you know what? The very first Gymkhana in Ceres, Patrick will know. I came to him, I said, Patrick, what's happening here? Where do you go? He said, just have fun.
Exactly.
Believe me, I got lost in the second cone. I got lost, and I went shopping. And I thought to myself afterwards, I didn't have fun that day. I must be honest, because I had no clue what I was doing. But I realized that Gymkhana separates the men from the boys. It's not what most people think it is. So, Saki, I want to come to you because you're a very interesting person. You're very good at what you do, extremely good. When you're in a car, that's your happy space. But you're one of the most humble people that I've ever met. Like I said, growing up in a circuit racing, you always have people that you look up to. And when they come to do nationals at Killarney, when I was a pookie, which was very long ago, you couldn't even speak to those people. I won't mention names because that will be wrong. But it was so unfriendly. And it was not good because there were some very friendly people, good racing drivers. But you're one of the people that actually stuck out because you're probably one of the best. And I could walk up to you and say, Saki, and you give me a whole long story. And you talk to me and you were so humble. And that is one of the things of Gymkhana that attracted me, it was one big family. It's
always been like
very
that.
important.
ever since I've joined the Witzenberg, it's always been like that. And I've been away, like Patrick said, he thought the drifting will steal me away, but yes, it does. It's a fun sport. But say after the 3 or 4 years I was gone, I came back to the Gymkhana and it was exactly the same as it was when I left. It was the same people, the same kind of spirit. Every time we come there, everybody helps everybody. I've helped, for example, Duncan at Mykonos, just for him to go beat me at the end. And I've had enders, a lot of people say, but why did you fix the car? Why did you help him? I said, but that's what we do. In the Gymkhana setup, it's always been like that. Everybody helps everybody. Doesn't matter if you're running the slowest time of the day or the fastest time of the day, you help the next guy to get the car going again to go compete in the race.
Now,
that's what's been for me for the setup. It's always been good.
I remember, like I said, the serious one. So that very day, Rafiq Furfree, one of the champions, last year's champion, year before's champion, the pavement knocked him. You know, it's never the driver's fault. It's always the navigator. The navigator
jumped in the way.
Yeah, the pavement jumped in the way, and so Leon, who competes against Rafiq in the same car, Leon's busy stripping the car. Myself and Leon, I don't even know who Rafiq is. Ek sê, gaan jy help hom die reg te maak. So we went to some werkswinkel, they fixed up the thing, and Rafiq drove again. And that's Gymkhana. Now, sucking very quickly because we don't have a lot of time. We have about 4 hours left, but that we're going to give to Patrick. But you came there with an 86 stock standard. Tell me a little bit about this car. Where are you going to go with this car? I know you're going to come drive next week with an 86, and hopefully the Corolla is ready for that as well. But tell us a little about this 86. It's a very interesting car, that.
Yeah, initially I saw it on the Formula Drift scene the first time. I thought it's a good-looking car. I think it was Jonathan Castor at that time was driving one. And I just decided I would like to build one for myself for the drifting more, but also for Gymkhanas, because I use my cars for everything. Basically, the only thing I can't do is drags. I've got no idea how that works. I've tried it once or twice and it didn't work for me. So I like sticking to the tracks. And so for track days and for myself, for the Gymkhanas, for the drifting, it's just a lot newer technology, independent suspension and stuff. And there's a lot more parts available for it off the shelf. But you can't always afford it. But there's a lot more parts available for it that you can try and copy and make your own stuff and make it work. And even in the standard form the car is now, I can already feel the difference between the two cars. Even though it's got a lot less power, it's already, you can feel the traction. If you let go of the accelerator or let go of the handbrake, you feel it jumps a bit forward. And the Corolla never used to do that. So it's an upgrade for me. I'm going to use the same motor again. But it's gonna be a whole other car to drive, I think, when it's done.
Okay, so we can definitely see that car there on the 31st of October. And
yeah,
I know you had
there. The Corolla, I'm working on it. I should have it done by the weekend, hopefully. Otherwise, late next week.
Brilliant. Well, you know what? There's a whole crew of us that's got nothing to do in the week. I can come and help you strip that car. I have no problem with that.
Where's your car, my
again.
Excuse me?
Where's your car, Abdul? Why aren't you driving?
My car, my car had a 1300 motor in, right? So we got the car sorted out, the handling. So the handling was sorted out, the brakes were all sorted out. So I took the motor out before COVID. And when COVID happened, I thought, we have till next year to build another motor. And not knowing that COVID ended sooner than what I expected. So, but you know what? At the end of the day, there's no rush. I've been in racing for too long to know that you rush an engine. So we just leave it and have some fun with the guys on the day. But it's going to be back soon with a bigger engine. So we're going to be there.
1300 back for now, Abdul.
No. Ask Patrick about that 1300. Let me go back a long way. Patrick, coming back to you. Tell me, you know what? You had a huge accident in a rally car. Right. So you sent me this diagram other day. Just explain that. That's probably the pace notes, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No. In those
what
days,
is that?
We didn't use pace notes in those days. Those are what's called tulips.
Okay.
And the bottom line of that is people draw that up beforehand. Then they have supposedly a check run before the time to make sure that those drawings are as accurate as possible, that the distances are consistent and accurate. And at the end of the day, we had no prior knowledge of the route. In other words, it was a secret route when you go on rallies. The rally started normally at about 10 o'clock at night or midnight, and it ran till early morning, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock. That's when we finished. Personally, I still prefer night rallies to day rallies, although there's many arguments for and against that. One being that you can't see the sponsors' names on the cars when they come past in the dark. My argument is still the roads are quieter, there's less road users during the night, and it's easier to spot another car on track. In the day, you can't see somebody backtracking, so you've got a problem. If somebody gets lost and he turns around on the route, you've got the potential of a head-on collision coming up quickly. But there's many arguments for that. But the long and the short of it, in those days it was tulips, and well, unfortunately, an error in one of those drawings led to what I believe our accident, the cause of our accident, in the sense that I wouldn't have told the driver of the danger coming up, because the position it was drawn in the tulip, and yeah, and I consider myself fortunate not being able to remember much about it, other than waking up in hospital about a week later. But it's, once again, it's not the sport that's to blame. As I said, the sport is only as strong as the people involved. And I bear no grudges about it. It's something that happened, it's past, it's history. I cannot change it. So you just carry on. And ironically, if it wasn't for the accident, we probably wouldn't have gone as far as to develop the Mykonos Gymkhana.
So as a result of something that wasn't good, something really brilliant came out of that. A real opportunity came out of that.
I'd like to think that we achieved something with the Gymkhanas. I really do. I think that the team that was involved from the word go, one of the very important elements about it that you will experience now as well as an organizer, it's very important to have a regular crew, if I could put it that way. You want the same officials involved. They get to know the competitors. They get to know the ins and outs of the sport. They do things without having to think about it. If you have the same start and finish marshals, they know who the jump starters are. They know who the guys are. They don't stop at the end, that type of thing. You learn as you go along. And once you've got a team established in that nature, it's fantastic to work with those people, because you don't have to explain anything. You don't have to ask them to do anything. Everything, it runs like a well-oiled machine on the day. And even the competitors play a very big role in that, because your senior competitors will always assist the junior competitors. If they see something that's not safe or they're doing that's probably considered illegal, they can go to those guys and say, listen, guys, this is my experience. Do it this way and it'll work better. At the end of the day, that sharing of information is critical to the success of the sport. And that's where it's so important. As Sean said as well, that's his first opinion of the sport is the way people can work together. And that's it. Take ownership of the sport. Every single guy present there, official or competitor, is a shareholder in the sport. And if he wants to see it grow, play a part in it. In other words, become involved. Don't think because you're the junior there or the newcomer there that you haven't got an input. Give your input. You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised at what response you'll get.
I think that's very interesting, because somebody has posted a comment now to ask if he can come and race his caddy. Well, the first question I have for him, has that caddy got a German engine or a Japanese engine? But if it's got a German engine, you can come and race it, but it's not going to last too long. You can put a Japanese engine in there. You're most welcome to come race it. It's going to last the whole season. So yes, whoever it was, I don't know who it was.
My question about a caddy would be, is it going to be 9 or 18 holes?
Okay, so yes, the answer is yes. Yeah, Ben, yes, you can come and race your caddy. The next event is on the 31st of October at Killarney. However, we are limited to 25 spaces, drivers, and we are currently on 25. But you're most welcome to, well, I don't know how you get hold of them. I'll check on, just send me a message on Facebook or something, or put it on the Witzenberg page, and I'll get in contact with you. And then we can see what we can wangle a bit to get you to come and drive on the 31st of October. So the next test session is at Killarney, 31st of October at Killarney Raceway. Okay, going back to Nadia. Nadia, so we want to have more ladies in the sport, right? Obviously, because it's a sport for everybody. We want to have families come there and come and join us. Okay, we're not allowed spectators because of COVID-19 and the laws and the regulations, but we are live streaming. So it can still become a family event, right? The idea of sticking different navigators in the car on different runs, right? Would that, in your opinion, grow the sport? Would it be good for the sport, not good for the sport?
I think it will certainly.
We're going to have an argument about this, but I don't know, get Nadia's feedback on this.
It will grow the sport. There is an initial fear because for someone that's never done this, you don't know what to expect. And so I'll take Faye as an example. Faye joined me as a navigator, and she navigated on 2 sessions for me, 2 events for me. And on the 3rd event, she said, "This is so much fun, I'm going to try it." And she did. And then what we tried to do was then get Wendy, another friend of ours, to do exactly the same thing, navigate for Faye. And then we managed to get her to navigate. And now the next step is to go, okay, Wendy, now you're going to bring your car and you're going to drive. So I understand there are rules, and the communication between the navies is so important. But I just think the more ladies that experience this, the quicker we're going to grow the sport, because they will enjoy it.
Okay, so it's Nash came for the first couple of times, and she's gone cycling now. But there are very, very good lady drivers around, and we wanna say to all the ladies out there, you are most welcome to come and drive your husband's cars anytime. Bring your husbands with. Gymkhana is the best therapy for married couples. Trust me. If you can survive a Gymkhana, if you can survive a stint in a Gymkhana car with your husband or wife as navigator, your marriage is strong. Trust me. And Sean.
Yes, sir.
For the young people out there, there are road racing. What do you think how can Gymkhana help them?
You know what? I'm going to quote a good friend of mine, Wayne Hay, who's one of the Subaru originals in Johannesburg. He always says that when you go and play on the track and you get out all of your need for speed and adrenaline rush on the track, you don't need to do that on the road where you're endangering other people and trying to, get hurt. The last thing we need is more idiots like the Sable Road guy who took his legs off and nearly killed many other people. So come into a safe environment, bring your car where you are safe, everybody else around you are safe. Trust me, you're going to get plenty of adrenaline rush. You're going to push your car as hard as you can. And then at the end of the day, you get to have fully experienced your car and the drive and etc. in a safe, controlled manner. If you want a street race, you're putting your life and so many others at risk. And quite frankly, when something goes wrong, you've only got yourself to blame.
Absolutely. That's wise. That's good advice, Sean. Saki, just coming back to you, Saki. So, you meet up with a lot of people in your industry. I mean, you have a company called Dynotech. So you meet up with a lot of people that come through your workshop daily. And for the young guys out there, what advice can you give them regarding Gymkhana? How will it assist them in learning their cars, teaching them more driving skills and stuff like that?
Yeah, I would say just start off with the standard car, and then on the track, it'll teach you where to brake, it'll teach you where to accelerate in the corners. And it's something that, no offense to main circuit racing, we've seen a lot of people, a lot of guys, different people come to the Gymkhana with their circuit cars, and they don't do as well as expected. They've been racing for years, but it's all it's predictive, if you can call it that, on the same circuit. We are at Jimkana, you never have the same circuit. That's every time, even though you go race at Mykonos, you never have the same track, you never have the same corners. So you have to adjust to that very quickly. And there's only 4 runs to do it in, you understand? So in that sense, say again?
That separates the men from the boys.
Yeah, but they'll teach you on the road as well. Doesn't matter the speed. You have to judge very quickly where you can brake and how much room you've got left to do something. And if something goes wrong, is there enough space to correct it or not? So in that sense, it teaches you quite a bit about handling the car and trying something else, trying something different. And like Patrick said earlier, no one's going to laugh at you. We probably just help you and say, listen, rather do this or rather do that. And say not so hard, a little bit softer. I remember Patrick told me that once I was battling at Mykonos and the golf will just overshoot the corners every time. Braking too late, you're braking while you're turning, brake harder while you're straight, and then a little bit into so stuff like that will safe on the roads as well.
Absolutely. So that's good.
If something happens, you know how to correct, you know how to catch it. Sorry, just say again.
Yeah, we I think you were a bit unclear there. Just repeat what you said. You'll know how to correct something.
Sorry,
are you not able to hear us there? Maybe it's the internet connection. Okay, can you hear me now, Saki?
Yeah, it's like a cell phone.
Okay, so okay, we'll just keep that thought there, and we're going to go to Patrick very quickly. Okay, we don't have much time. I'm going to give each of you one little bit to say about the 4 of you. Just quickly, Patrick, in closing. Well, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave you for last, Patrick, because you kind of put me under pressure, because I had to fill shoes that were way, way, way out of my league, out of my depth. And it's hard to fill your shoes. I see the comments coming through here. It's unbelievable. I mean, I know you're a very wise man. And obviously, Pierre van der Westhuizen as well. I learned so much from you and Pierre. But it's very, very difficult to follow your footsteps. I must be honest with you. But going back to Nadia. Nadia, just in closing, we can chat the whole day about racing and cars and motorsport and Gymkhana. Just in closing, where do you see Gymkhana going and motorsport going in this country in the next few years? Give us your vision. Where do you want to see it? How can Gymkhana be part of that? And I'm going to ask each of you the same question. So Sean, you and Saki can think about the answer. In the meantime, the reason why I asked Nadia first, because ladies can think on their feet, and they can actually direct men very well if they're the navigator. So take note of what I said there. Patrick, I'm going to end off with you. Okay, so Nadia, that question. So the question was, where do you see motorsport going in the next couple of years in this country, considering the cost factor and all the rest of the stuff? And also, how do you see Gymkhana filling that gap or being part of that growth in motorsport?
That's such a loaded question, Abdul. I say that because every single one of us watching and on the chat know what the current state of motorsport is in the country, and there's loads of room for improvement. Cost prevents us from attending a track day. So I think that's where Gymkhana is filling in the gap. I remember years ago, I thought, that gap was karting. Karting is just as expensive. So it was an easy way, not an easy way, but it was an effective way to kind of get your foot in the door and then work your way up the ranks. I think this is where Gymkhana has already started filling the gap, because you're getting people from, irrespective of what their cars are, irrespective of how competitive they are or not, they can join a Gymkhana event and have absolute fun. And I mean, it's like what someone had said earlier. You come through to Gymkhana on the Saturday, you drive there, you have fun on the track, you get into your car and you drive back home. what other sport, what other form of motorsport can you do that? You don't have to get your car on a trailer. Well, except for Leon. But you just, it's cost effective. It's a family sort of environment. It's easy to learn. There's no added pressure. I think there's a big home for it, and there's lots of improvement for it. But it's going to start with us, the competitors, and those that are actually tuning in. And we have to try and get as many of them as possible to get to the Gymkhana track, so that we can start growing the sport from there. It's us who's going to grow it. So.
Okay, Ben, I see Ben sent a comment. Just send me a WhatsApp. That's one of the ideas that I have in my mind, is to get guys from other provinces to come and do an event here in Cape Town. So my cell number, send me a WhatsApp, is 082 336 7788. 082 336 7788. I'm almost 100% sure we are going to do something like that within the next year or so, just depending on how COVID pans out and what the rules and regulations, how it pans out. Sean, coming back to the same question I asked Nadia, give us your insight, your views, your vision.
Yeah, to comment on that, motorsport in South Africa is in dire straits. There's no other word for it. Unfortunately, the governing body, etc., can't be relied on to promote any motorsport, etc. That's just not their function. Cost limitations, etc. In pretty much every formula, the guy with the biggest wallet wins, specifically when it comes to things like drag racing, etc. If you want to have fun and be competitive and do so with a limited budget, you've got very few options. Gymkhana is one of them. So I think going forward, the South African scene is going to be driven by a club-based motorsport that does not rely on national promoters or national bodies arranging it. It needs to be done by club-based people who are doing it not for profit, for the passion of the sport, and run by the members, for the members. I only believe that that's the future of motorsport, certainly until our organizing bodies and our national bodies, sort themselves out. So things like Gymkhana are absolutely the kind of way I see sport going. And my last comment is, motorsport's a circle of three things: spectators, entrants or participants, and sponsors. You need all three to make it work. Which one comes first? You need a cool event that attracts entrants. You need a cool event that attracts spectators, and that ultimately brings sponsors to make it affordable for everybody. You need all three of those to make this happen. Right now, we've got a cool event. Can't wait for COVID to be gone so we can get the spectators back, and then hopefully we can get some sponsorship to bring even more people into the sport and make the events more accessible and slightly bigger.
Okay, thank you so much, Sean. Saki, I'm going to ask you the same question. You've been around for a long time. So same question, what are your views and your vision and your answers to that?
Yeah, I have to agree with Sean as well. It's getting more and more. The smaller clubs, I think, will grow a lot more now if we can keep the cost down. And then as a sponsor and the spectators, everything comes back. It's gonna help with regards to the covering the cost and then getting the sport to grow even more.
So you guys kind of agree that, number one, we should keep it as low cost as possible. Am I correct?
Yeah.
We should keep it.
Yeah, that'll get the average, or the average guy, anyone actually to join in, and it's not expensive for them for the first time to try it, and first or maybe a second time, the bug will bite them.
Okay.
Keep it accessible.
Right. Keep it accessible. Keep it as low cost. Keep the politics out of motorsport.
100%.
Yeah.
Keep the passion going, and I think we should do it for the passion, not for the money.
Yes, sir.
If you start doing it for the money, the passion disappears. So this is Patrick, I kept you for last for a reason, because you have grown up in the I don't want to give your age away, but I mean, you started with Gymkhanas when, when they weren't even four-wheel drive cars yet. I mean, I don't know. They were probably only like normal cars, but you've kind of grown through the whole spectrum from old to modern. So if you look at what we're currently doing with Gymkhanas, we live streaming, for example. This was never possible a couple of years ago. We live streaming the events. We on social media. Coupled to that, and your views on how Gymkhana fits into motorsport and why Gymkhana is such an important and vital part of the motorsport chain.
To me, the Gymkhana series represents true grassroots motorsport. It's the entry level. From here, you can grow into any other category of the sport. If you look at the history of motorsport in South Africa, the more successful the bigger categories of the sport became, the less important or the less emphasis they put on club membership and the little guy in the club. It became top heavy. When the big sponsors and the manufacturers pulled out of the sport, it fell flat because there was no base built in that period. It was all given to the top end of it. We brought touring cars to this country. Love me or hate me for it, I believe it was a mistake. It should never have come. It burned a lot of categories of the sport. It looked great on the track, but all the money went in there. And suddenly you lost the support that the little guy had from the manufacturers. If I take rallies as an example, you had the dealer team concept, where you had the manufacturer entering cars in every class of the rally. At the end of the year, those cars were made available to the little guy in the regions. So your regional championship stayed strong, your national championship stayed strong. At the end of the day, you had a field of 17 S2000 cars at one stage, which was awesome. It's a fantastic car. But you only had 17 cars in the national level. Suddenly your regional started to suffer. Suddenly your club level started to suffer because you were no longer required to be a member of a club to get a competition license. Yet you need that member to organize the very event that makes those guys look good at the top. So we killed off the foundation of the sport, in my opinion. And it has to be rebuilt somehow. And that rebuilding starts at club level once again. You've got to rebuild those clubs. You've got to get the members involved. You've got to recreate that passion for the sport so that people are willing to come back and invest in that sport because it's now got a solid foundation and it can grow again. Gymkhanas is perfect in that respect. And as a matter of fact, I believe the Gymkhanas is the element of the sport that fits all aspects. In other words, by doing a Gymkhana, I can use my own daughter as an example. I got her involved as a driver and as a navigator. At the end of the day, I do believe, and I honestly believe this, that she's become a safer driver on our roads. I believe everybody that is a newcomer needs to do a Gymkhana, either as a navigator or as a driver or as both. At the end of the day, the trophy on the shelf is not as important as what you learned in that event about yourself. Because you can go out on the road and you'll be more aware of what's going on around you. You'll anticipate things better and you'll understand the mechanics or the dynamics of your own car so much better. Once again, if you have that solid foundation, things will grow again. And it's going to take a number of years for most categories of motorsport to recover in South Africa. But I believe where there's hope, things can happen. And I would like to think that Gymkhanas are going to be playing quite a bit of a role in the progress towards success again in motorsport.
Absolutely. So, guys, we're kind of done with the evening, with the show. But you know what? Think of this idea. We should get manufacturers involved, bring in their standard showroom cars, Toyota, Subaru, I don't know, whatever other manufacturers they are. Get them to come and do a Gymkhana. Simple, straightforward cars. It'll be an awesome experience. The guys will get excited. It'll be stock standard, off the showroom floor cars. That would really explode motorsport, in my opinion, as far as Gymkhanas are concerned. Like the old group A on the track.
If I could add, can I add something to that? If you
course
go
you
back
can.
a few years, there was the Firestone Master Driver series, which Volkswagen and Toyota supported by supplying similar vehicles for each of those series. Gymkhanas to me could go a long way to create that same type of atmosphere. At this stage, we don't possibly have the names, and I'm not knocking the likes of Sean or IZAK, but to me, they are the great names of Gymkhana. But seen in a national capacity, very few people know who they are. So at the end of the day, you want to build the sport to the level where these guys will become those names again, like a Nick de Waal or a Serge Damso or a Jannie Habig of South African motorsport. And by having events, going to various provinces and building that again, it will get there eventually. And it'd be fantastic to see a program with Saki van Zyl or Andre Dreyer or Brennan Green or whoever's name on there, and knowing that they grew from the basics of a normal Gymkhana.
Okay, so guys, this is the wrap. Wrap it up now. So remember the 31st of October, as you guys can see on the live from Killarney Racetrack, 31st of October. We will put the times up, but I reckon it's going to start at around about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning till about 1 o'clock. You guys, please come and join us. Come and have a look. Come and see what Gymkhanas are about. And we're having episode 3 of Motor Talk with Witzenberg, Motor Praatjies met Witzenberg, next weekend, Wednesday, around about the same time. We're going to have, I might even bring Patrick back on because he's got so much information, it's unbelievable. And we want to get other people from other disciplines of motorsport onto the show as well. So you guys have my number, send me a WhatsApp, we'll chat about it, we'll see what we can do. And I want to thank Patrick from the bottom of my heart for spending some time with us, and Sean Pretorius, and Nadia SINGH, and Saki van Zyl, my friend there. Thank you so much for being on the show. It's a very interesting show. I learned a lot. I'm sure the people that were listening, the listeners also learned a lot and got different perspectives of what Gymkhana specifically is about. So I want to thank you guys. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate the comments. Guys, you got to push the subscribe buttons. We're on Twitch. We're on Facebook. We have our own YouTube channel, Motor Talk with Witzenberg, Motor Praatjies met Witzenberg. So guys, thank you so much. And thank you for the guy in the background there, Mr. Kyle. We really, really appreciate your effort and your time, because with this type of technology, we're going to be taking motorsport and more specifically Gymkhanas to the next level. So thank you once again, guys. I'm going to knock off now. My maak geraas, ek is baie honger en ek moet gaan eet. En julle is ook, ek as die takkie wil gaan eet ook, en almal van julle. So I'm definitely going to be seeing you guys on the 31st of October at Killarney. The route is going to be absolutely awesome. For the drifters that are going to take part, julle gaan baljaar, soos hulle sê in Afrikaans. Dit gaan lekker wees. And for the guys with the Subarus, there's a part for you as well. And for the guys with no handbrakes, there's a part for you as well. So it's for everybody. It's going to be there for everybody. So thank you once again, guys. Thank you, Carl, in the background, our technical guy. Thank you for being on the show tonight. We'll see you guys soon. And have a wonderful evening. And push the subscribe button. Cheers.
Thanks a
Bye-bye.
lot.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.